Good evening, everyone. Hello, my name is Chris Studebaker, and I will be reviewing the Role Tailor Client page types and development with an emphasis on the changes in NAV 2013, promoted actions and ribbons, and also the chart add-in. Here's a diagram of a typical start page in Role Tailor Client. At the top, we have the travel buttons, address bar, and the search field. Below that is the global command bar, which is the tabbed ribbon. This is where all the actions on a page reside. The navigation pane, filter pane, content area, and fact box area have not changed much from 2009. The next two slides detail the page areas, and you can download this PowerPoint to review at your leisure. At the end of this presentation, I'll put in the link on the chat window on the meeting. A user's assigned Role Center page is their home page in NAV, the page where they land when first logging into NAV 2013. The purpose of a Role Center page is to provide a task-oriented home page which focuses on the tasks that the user typically needs in order to do his or her job on a day-to-day basis. All the user's common tasks should be no more than 1 or 2 clicks away. The standard NAV distribution includes 22 predefined Role Center pages, including generic roles such as bookkeeper, sales manager, and production planner. Some of the provided Role Centers are richly featured and have been heavily tailored by Microsoft as illustrations of what is possible. On the other hand, some of the provided Role Centers are only skeletons, acting essentially as placeholders. I wanted to highlight the Role Center page mainly because I think that, myself included, we are all guilty of not utilizing the role profile nature of RTC and NAV. For each implementation, the Role Center should really be developed for each customer's specific roles rather than using the out-of-the-box by default. Unless, of course, your customer sells paint and bicycles and furniture and computers, all from color-coded warehouses. We as developers need to let the implementation team understand the importance and the flexibility we have in developing the Role Center for our customers. Enough of my soapboxing, back to the presentation. Here we list the page types. The list page, which is the first page accessed when choosing any menu option. The card page, which displays and allows updating of a single record, and the document page, which has at least 2 fast tabs, one in a card and the other one in a list or a subform format. All of these page types are essentially the same as they were in RTC 2009. While the List Plus page is also the same as in 2009, I wanted to spend a few seconds on this because I was never able to find a good definition, nor good examples of what this type of page was. A List Plus page is similar to a document page as it has at least 1 fast tab in the card format and 1 in a list or subform format. But a List Plus page can have multiple subforms, unlike a document. Here's a quick example of a List Plus page. The page types shown here, again, are not much different from 2009, but I wanted to highlight the standard dialog page that can be used to control a process instead of displaying table data, and the Navigate type page, which can be used for wizard data entry. The slide lists some of the wizards for you to investigate further. The fact box area in itself has not changed, but we have a new part, the chart add-in. Not to be confused with the chart that came with 2009, the chart add-in allows the use of queries as data source and allows much more configuration by the user after it is developed. There is a .NET add-in that is managed by table 485 as shown in the following diagram. I will walk through the basics of the chart add-in as demonstrated by Tectura's own MVP Ahmed Amini in his blog on Libuso.com. There's also a link here on the chart to Ahmed's blog on it and the cash flow chart example on MSDN. Here in this diagram, we can see that a chart is controlled by two things. One is the code unit, which consolidates the data into an X, Y, and possibly Z axis, and the business chart buffer table, table 485, which manages the chart object in much the same way that the Excel buffer table manages Excel in NAV. Amedamini's blog highlights the steps and basic format of Cal that is needed to generate an XY axis chart with NAV data. Step 1. Create a page of card type with a source table of business chart buffer, table 485. Add a single field under content area container with no source type and a control add-in property set to Microsoft.Dynamics.nav.client.business.chart. Put the code that I will step through on the following slide on the onFind record trigger. And in order to view the chart, you must make it part of the fact box area in another page. And here's the code that you would put in to do an XY example. The first thing is you initialize the object. Then you define the label for the x-axis as a string. Then we have nav table x, which is the x-axis data source, and we're going to loop through it. You call add measure, which has the caption and any kind of description or specific code from the x-axis data, and you define the data type and the chart type, which here is stacked column. By changing the chart type, you can change it to other things quite easily and quickly, such as pi. We add the column for the x-axis, and then we go and find the y-axis data source based on the x-axis relationship and set the value. In this case, we're setting the value of the number of y for every x. You increment the I value that is set in the set value, and then you go on to the next record. After you've done filling in the buffer table with all the x and y values, you update the chart object, or chart control, not the object. The Page Designer in NAV 2013 has a new preview tool, which is very helpful in defining our control placement and action menu layout. The preview screen is linked to the Page Designer and the Action Designer. When you click on a control line, the control is highlighted in the preview screen and vice versa. Control types: container, group, and part controls have not changed significantly from RTC 2009, but here's short definitions of each type. Field controls have changed though. There is the ability to define a field as quick entry, which sets the tab order higher or lower if set true or false. While you cannot directly define the tab order, as was possible with the next control property in Classic, this is still better than nothing. Also, there's the ability to select icons for buttons from lists rather than having to magically know the names. There's a lot of them though, so go to the two links on this slide for activity and action images and view all the images that are available. The ribbon itself is defined in the Page Action Designer. The primary action grouping will determine which tab the action will go to, unless it is promoted, on the ribbon, such as Home tab, Actions tab, Navigate tab, and Reports tab. The secondary action grouping will determine which category on the tab it will belong. The captions on the tabs are fixed in the development environment, but it can be customized on a per role basis in RTC configuration mode. The action container types are action items which appear in the Actions tab, related information, which is the Navigate tab, reports, which appears on the Reports tab. Only actions that are marked as promoted appear in the Home tab, which we'll see in the next slide. Home items and activity buttons are only available for pages defined as role centers. It takes some getting used to because the action subtypes don't necessarily match the tab names, but once you get used to it, it's pretty easy to put stuff where you want it. The promoted category property puts the actions on the Home tab, and you have the ability to customize the category captions. There are up to 10 categories that can be assigned to promoted actions, and it's more or less required to define captions for categories 4 through 10 because they're called Category 4, Category 5, etc., etc. Remember, this is defined in the development environment on the page properties level. In the Page Designer, select the first blank row at the bottom, click View Properties, or click the Properties icon, or right-click and select Properties to go to the Page Properties. Locate the Promoted Actions Categories ML property and click the Assist Edit button. Set the language. Even if you're only using a single language, you still have to define the language. And define the captions in a comma-separated list, just like options. Here's a screenshot of the property where we have the page properties, and there in the middle we have the Promoted Actions Category ML property. We click on the Assist Edit and we go to the multi-language editor, and you can define the values in the value column. Like I said before, you cannot change or add tabs in the development environment, but if you enter the configuration mode in RTC, you can customize the ribbons, add tabs, change tab captions, and move actions around on a per role basis. This information is stored as metadata in the database, so I'm not sure if this is exactly practical to do on a repeated basis or to copy from one database or to another. And for add-ons like eShip, they live within the constraints of the development environment where they put stuff on the 4 tabs that are available. They just create submenus on the ribbon for the eShip or EDI specific information. This concludes my presentation that I had planned. Are there any questions at all or comments while I get the link for this PowerPoint?